Welcome everyone to a new video. Today we'll be reviewing walking from Halifax to the native camp. This is a wonderful video, very calm. I'll be mostly showing you guys what the map looks like from Halifax to the native camp and how to get there, as well as describing multiple things in the frontier, such as structures, animals, and other things. So as usual, in the beginning we usually go over what teams we're going over today, so today we'll be going between colonist and the native teams. Of course I'll only be playing as a colonist right now, so if you guys want to watch native gameplay, in the future I will be doing a little bit of that. Starting with one of the most basic things about the new world, of course, is the bay itself. Making sure as I load in that everything is good to go, we begin moving towards outside of the bay immediately. We'll be walking in this video for the majority of it, and I'll be explaining a lot of the animals as well as drop rates, and on top of that, structures and other buildings within the frontier, alongside paths and other ways to get places in the game. So beginning with us going out of here, understandably the bay is a safe zone for a decent amount of space. I mentioned a few videos ago that the safe zone is not a campable zone anymore due to the fact that there aren't a lot of places where you can naturally hide outside. Even though the terrain is generally hilly, it is much harder to actively stay in these places because both BCF will get in the way of you advancing towards the bay if you are a colonist and you are camping outside, than if you were just actually moving places outside to go hunt, and it would be more profitable in many ways. Of course, the BCF fortress is not that far from the bay. It is approximately the same as the predecessor to this game, TNF's distance from the HBC fort to the bay, except that it is a little bit further. Understandably, the BCF fortress and the FCF fortress, British and French fortresses, are decently large in size. Many players have recognized this and have commented on it prior. They are the two main factions of the game. However, these are quite large for their size, mostly because of their active numbers in the game, and possible server size being increased in the future, as it is expected at some point. Now, players are actively dueling at the moment during the alpha, so you see that a little bit on the right, and I kind of walk by it because I don't want to get involved, which was very fun. And of course from here we lead into the rest of about 80% of the map, which is open territory and native type land. People have to recognize the fact that very little of the land is split between French, British, and colonist. About 80 to 75% of the map, most of the map basically, is on the native type axis. They have a lot of the land on the map, and if you look at it throughout, like when they actually release a paper map to the game, you will start realizing how big the land actually is in comparison to where 3 of the 4 teams actually are. So that does benefit the native side just a little bit in the game, and throughout that you are able to kind of see what's going on there. So of course we have the bridge. The bridge is considerably what is splitting the British and the colonist spawns from the French spawn. Even though the French spawn is to the left of this, it is still considered something that is a little bit further out into the game, and of course this is considered kind of a midway point. It's more of a third into the map because there is a lot of open territory, but for pathing this would be about the halfway point. Of course, anywhere along this, including in the wilderness of the game, you are more than welcome to chop logs, because there is a lot of this kind of stuff. And right around here is where you're going to start seeing like deer, elk, rabbits, beaver. You're going to start seeing the majority of the animals around where I am right now, maybe even a little bit further out. So this is, at the moment, we've been walking for approximately 3.5 minutes. Because of this warrants that it usually would be around 5 minutes to get into hunting, and 5 minutes on your way back, unless you're going to be resetting and losing a bit of money. So naturally, understandably, the map is just quite large from this perspective. Now, you haven't encountered any buildings for a while. On the left is the French side, by the way. So that leads into there. However, this is kind of the last point that we consider to be prior to the native camp. This is important because of the warfront stances. Right around where you will see an illegal dealer, which is actually a little bit unexpected. This is an unnatural spawn for it, but the illegal dealer sometimes does spawn in 1 of 10 places on the map. I will show the exact ratio somewhere on the screen right now. So yeah. Anyways, towards this, I end up killing a deer. Like I mentioned, deer spawns, elk spawns, and beaver spawns are much more common around these areas as they're further out in the map, and the closer that you do actually get to the native spawn, the better you do. So of course, by skinning this, the deer fur and deer meat, of course, this deer only drops 1 meat, however, it is still worth over 50 for both of those parts if I sell them back in the bay, meaning that is technically worth my time, and if I had chopped logs instead doing that method, usually you wouldn't make as much money as you would hunting, so I do recommend going hunting very often. Now let's continue on. In general, a few things about the frontier that you should understand is the fact that there is a lot of open land, meaning if you are going hunting, looting, mining, chopping logs outside of the safe zone, you should understand how far you should be able to go without taking much of a risk of being killed within the game, or taking a risk of losing out on some of the loot that you can possibly get. So the map is about 1.8 times the size of the previous game to this TNF size map for a lot of people that played that, and it was a very popular game. So for those of you that did play that prior, you can understand a little bit about how big it is based off of that ratio. But not only that, the fact that there is a large player base right now that is on the verge of creating a map basically for the game. So very shortly you'll be able to understand what the game pretty much looks like, the entirety of the map, as well as overall design, shape, and form of everything within the game, including structures, so I'm sure that'll be coming out very, very soon. As well, a large mention to the current people that are working on both newspapers and are on the moderation team for the game. I do appreciate them very, very much. Feel free to send them a DM on Discord and thank them for what they're doing so far, as the game will be in full release by the 13th, which is going to be this Saturday, and also possibly this Sunday, is when they've pretty much decided to full release and get everyone pretty much into the game, which should be really, really good, and that's going to be amazing, because then I will start streaming over on Twitch to have you guys in the game, and we'll have a ton of fun building fortresses, doing mini battles, tournaments, and giveaways when that starts up. To mention, using the hunting, mining, and lumber felling strategies on your way over to the native camp from Halifax will typically still make you anywhere from 2,000 to around 5,000 pounds per hour just by doing this kind of method, and you will be making a lot of money in the game. On top of that, you'll be continuously just moving back and forth, so you will get to meet a lot of new people, possibly join a faction at some point if you're not in a faction already, and it's usually a pretty peaceful route. It's not like you're walking directly into the French base or you're walking into the British fortress. There is a decent amount of certainty where you're not going to be killed most of the time walking from a colonist to a native spawn, because generally people aren't looking to kill each other along that path, because it's not a common war zone type path within the game that currently exists. To touch base, I will be doing a rifles video very, very shortly on a lot of the guns in the game, as well as reiterating some of the melees in the game to go into more depth with that. Also, as well, showing them off and what they actually are in the game, how much damage they do directly, and ratios and that kind of stuff. I definitely want to produce a lot more of that content in the future. To mention, a quick hello basically, and shout out to a lot of the people that have actually watched the videos, and if you guys haven't already given a like, feel free to. It would actually mean a ton, and it does help me out a lot on the algorithm. And a lot of the future content, I definitely see quite a bit of opportunity coming up, so obviously with the game's full release, which is coming up very, very soon, a lot of you guys will be able to play, so that's going to be really exciting. Over here I just gave this native a little piece of meat because I think he deserved it. He did deserve to have a little bit of something. I said hello back, and it was quite interesting. That was the ultimate goal of going to the native camp. I gave one native a piece of meat and then walked away of an animal that was probably supposed to be his anyways, based off of the territory, so that was very fun. Anyways, it was very amazing just to see these people around. The game is decently peaceful at the moment. People are just kind of relaxing, nothing much will be going on. I would assume within 2 or 3 weeks of full release of the game that there will be a lot of warfare, but I don't assume that it would be yet. So that does actually quite impress me, the fact that the community is kind of coming together right now, and that's very nice and positive. So yeah, absolutely. Anyways, things are going great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Feel free to go subscribe down below. Feel free to leave a like as well, it would help me out a ton. Like I said, with the algorithm, it does help out a lot, so thank you guys very much for that. Feel free to go follow the Twitch in the description below and also on screen. It is Yacker Official, as well as joining my Discord or the game Discord. And from that, I'll see you guys next time.